It is my opinion that the international situation has now reached a new turning point. There are two winds in the world today, the east wind and the west. There is a Chinese saying, either the east wind prevails over the west wind, or the west wind prevails over the east wind. I believe it is characteristic of the situation today that the east wind is prevailing over the west wind. That is to say, the forces of socialism have become overwhelmingly superior to the forces of imperialism. We desire peace. However, if imperialism insists on fighting a war, we will have no alternative but to take the firm resolution to fight to the finish before going ahead with our construction. If you are afraid of war, what will you do if war events? First, I said that the east wind is prevailing over the west wind, and war will not break out. I have added these explanations about the situation in case war should break out. Both possibilities have thus been taken into account. Every grasp the truth. Political power grows out of the barrel of a gun. Over a long period, we have developed this concept for the struggle against the enemy. Strategically, we should despise all our enemies, but tactically, we should take them all seriously. This also means that we must despise the enemy with respect to the whole, but that we must take him seriously with respect to each and every concrete question. If we do not despise the enemy with respect to the whole, we shall be committing the error of opportunism. Marx and Engels were only two individuals, and yet in those early days they already declared that capitalism would be overthrown throughout the world. But in dealing with concrete problems and particular enemies, we shall be committing the error of adventurism unless we take them seriously. In war, battles can only be fought, forces can only be destroyed, walls can only be built one by one. The peasants can only plow the land, plot by plot. The same is even true of eating a meal. Strategically, we take the eating of a meal lightly. We know we can finish it, but actually we eat it mouthful by mouthful. It is impossible to swallow an entire banquet in one gulp. This is known as a piecemeal solution. In military parlance, it is called wiping out the enemy forces one by one. Lifting a rock only to drop it on one's own feet is a Chinese folk saying to describe the behavior of certain fools. The reactionaries in all countries are fools of this kind. In the final analysis, their persecution of the revolutionary people only serves to accelerate the people's revolutions on a broader and more intense scale. Did not the persecution of the revolutionary people by the Tsar of Russia and by Chiang Kai-shek perform this function in the great Russian and Chinese revolutions? I have said that all the reputedly powerful reactionaries are merely paper tigers. The reason is that they are divorced from the people. Look, was not Hitler a paper tiger? Was Hitler not overthrown? I also said that the Tsar of Russia, the Emperor of China, and Japanese imperialism were all paper tigers. As we know, they were all overthrown. U.S. imperialism has not yet been overthrown, and it has the atom bomb. I believe it also will be overthrown. It, too, is a paper tiger. The world is progressing. The future is bright, and no one can change this general trend of history. We should carry on constant propaganda among the people on the facts of world progress and the bright future ahead so that they will build their confidence in victory. The commanders and fighters of the entire Chinese People's Liberation Army absolutely must not relax in the least their will to fight. Any thinking that relaxes the will to fight and belittles the enemy is wrong. War is the continuation of politics. In this sense, war is politics, and war itself a political action. Since ancient times, there has never been a war that did not have a political character. But war has its own particular characteristics, and in this sense, it cannot be equated with politics in general. War is the continuation of politics by other means. When politics develops to a certain stage beyond which it cannot proceed by the usual means, war breaks out to sweep the obstacles from the way. When the obstacle is removed and our political aim attained, the war will stop. But if the obstacle is not completely swept away, the war will have to continue till the aim is fully accomplished. It can therefore be said that politics is war without bloodshed, while war is politics with bloodshed. War is the highest form of struggle for resolving contradictions when they have developed to a certain stage between classes, nations, states, or political groups, and it has existed ever since the emergence of private property and of classes. Every communist must grasp the truth. Political power grows out of the barrel of a gun. The seizure of power by armed force, the settlement of the issue by war, is the central task and the highest form of revolution. This Marxist-Leninist principle of revolution holds good universally, for China and for all other countries. We are advocates of the abolition of war. We do not want war, but war can only be abolished through war. And in order to get rid of the gun, it is necessary to take up the gun.